Hey, what's going on, my friend? Are you a small business owner that loves God, family, country, and capitalism? If so, you are in the right place. Welcome to the War Plan Briefing. My name is Joshua Latimer. It's a special video today because we're going to invert the way that we teach. So everybody talks about success principles, but I was just joined by a good friend of mine named Debbie Sardone, and she was talking about things to do if you want to fail, which I like. Alex Hormozy has been talking about inverted thinking, which is super successful. So there's a story years ago. There's a guy I was working with, and he worked 80 hours a week, which is basically 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. He made $35,000 a year in income. And what's really ironic is a question he asked me. He said, Josh, what do I need to do to make more money? That's what he said. What do I need to do? So I want you to focus on the word do. If there's one thing that this guy did not need, was a thing to do, right? So he's got a list of 89 things. He doesn't need two more stacked on there. The key to his success isn't to do 86 things instead of 84 things. He needed to stop doing a bunch of things and start letting himself be successful because he would get way further ahead faster. Does that make sense? So let's check this out. Inverted thinking. Have you ever considered doing a stop doing list? Okay. So we're going to talk about the 5 things never to do if you desire great success, but think about inverted thinking in general. When you're trying to solve a problem, ask yourself, how would I create the problem, right? Instead of saying, how do I have great employees, say, how do I have terrible employees? And sometimes it's a creative hack to flip your mind and you can solve easier, right? Because sometimes we're looking at obstacles and we're already overworked, we're already underpaid, we're already stressed out of our mind. We want to kick our dog when we get, no, we don't want to kick our dog when we get home. That's really mean. That's a terrible thing to say. Maybe we edit this out. But the point is that we get stressed out of our eyeballs. We're freaking out. And we can't see the obvious, so inverting the problem you're trying to solve can be useful. So let's get into the 5 things to never do. Maybe you don't need to do more. You need to not do more if you desire great success. The first thing is to kill your momentum. Do not do that. Do you know what a flywheel is? I'm not an auto mechanic. I can barely change my own oil, and it's kind of shameful as the man of the house, right? I play on the internet all day. But anyway, momentum in a flywheel, it takes a lot of effort to spin it up. But the idea behind a flywheel is that once it's spun up, it takes a little bit of effort to keep it going, right? Another example is an airplane. It takes a disproportionate amount of fuel for an airplane full of passengers to get 1 foot off the ground. Massive burn of fuel. But it's not the same thing when it's cruising at 30,000 feet. The problem for entrepreneurs is that we kill our momentum all the time. We start to get ahead, and then we quit the band, so to speak, right before we get the record deal. Just like the airplane, we get 1 foot off the ground, and then we kind of touch down again. And then we have to full throttle it to get 1 foot off the ground, and you're so much closer than you think you are. It might feel far away, but you got to keep spinning the flywheel. You have to keep going. Even things like YouTube, I have to keep going. Believe it or not, this video, I'm in the middle of a live event here at Warplan Studios. And I don't know, Will, if we could insert a clip, but what's up, friends? How we doing over there? And we're talking about consistency and keeping momentum. And, I missed some scheduled posting days this week on the YouTube channel, which is a big no-no, I guess. My YouTube guy, he's like, this is bad, Josh. You literally need to record that. So we're just making one right now because I don't want to lose momentum. And I don't care if I have 1,000 followers or if I have 100,000 followers. You want to keep momentum because it's so hard to get there. If you're 30 days into working out, for the love of God, pull yourself together and keep going because it takes less and less effort the longer you go. So the second thing you never want to do if you desire great success is to stop learning. Stop learning. One of my favorite quotes is from Aristotle, the bearded statue Greek philosopher guy. And he said, the only thing I know is that I know nothing. The only thing I know is I know nothing. I actually heard this in my 20s. And I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. You ever learn something, but you're not ready for it? Or you dismiss something, and then later you're like, oh my God, that makes sense. Or you're reading the Bible, and you read the same thing 400 times, and you're like, ah. And then you hit it the 401st time, and you fall out of your chair and say, I get it. I get it. I get it. It's in my soul now. I heard it different. But it requires to keep learning and reading and doing it over and over and over. And the problem with that is that the human brain is hardwired to only want to learn new things. We're programmed for novelty. You know, if we see a pink polka dotted Volkswagen Bug driving down the road, you're like gonna notice it because the reticular activating system in your brain notices new things and it doesn't care about familiar things. The same is true with learning. You might be learning stuff, but did you really learn it? How nuanced do you understand it? There's a difference between intellectually head knowledge knowing something and having mastery of something. These are not the same idea, like at all. They're not even close to the same idea. And what Aristotle meant when he said, the only thing I know is I know nothing, what he meant was that he was so smart towards the end of his life that he realized that what he knows, the body of knowledge of what he knows, is insignificantly tiny relative to everything that he could have known, right? And I think that comes with maturity, and my encouragement to you is to never stop learning if you want to be successful. The third thing is to stop investing. Like, if you stop investing, bad things will happen. Investment happens all over the place. You know, when you do a one-on-one with your son, it's an investment. It's like putting a deposit in the bank. Literally, that's what it is. It's a relationship investment. Dating your wife every single week, even when you're mad at each other. Those are the most fun dates anyway. When you're mad and you're sitting there and you don't talk. But doing the date anyway, it's an investment. It's putting a deposit in the bank. People that struggle don't do these things. And just to briefly recap, they constantly start to get going and they kill their momentum. They start to learn and mistakenly think they mastered something that they know 5% about. And they don't realize they got to learn it 100 times the same thing, and then they got it and it's unlocked for the rest of their life. And they're not investors, right? They get scared, they play small. Which leads into point number 4, which is if you want great success, you cannot let fear win. Fear, have you ever heard the acronym false evidence appearing real? I think that's sort of true, but not really. You know, because I don't know about you, but when I overdraft my bank account and can't make payroll, when I filed bankruptcy and had a car repossessed, when I had my electricity shut off because I didn't pay the bill and I was humiliated as a man, when my wife's debit card was declined at the grocery store with my baby son while strangers made her feel uncomfortable and she called me crying, when that happened, that wasn't false evidence appearing real. That sucked for real. That was really bad. If you're in the forest and there's a saber-toothed tiger and it wants to eat you, that's not false evidence appearing real. Some of the fear is really true. You could make big mistakes. I get it. But why should that dictate you from movement in the first place? The truth is, you have to be in motion to get clear, to get success, to get ahead. And when you let fear beat you, it doesn't mean nothing bad will happen to you, but if you let fear beat you, you just stay in the same spot. And the reason that's a gigantic, silly misunderstanding is because staying in the same spot isn't safe. You think it's safe to not invest. You think it's safe to stay small and play small. You think it's safe to live in your little bubble. That's the most dangerous place in the world. And I'm not being Tony Robbins, hokey cheesy guy. I'm telling you right now, bad things are coming. You need to be in momentum. You need to be powerful. Your bank account needs to be weaponized so you can change the world. And you playing small is a very, very high risk profile on that. And I don't want that for you. And the last one to land the plane here is to make excuses. If you want to struggle, if you want to stay stuck, if you want to fail, make excuse after excuse after excuse because you got a flat tire, because it rained, because there was a thunderstorm. Myron Golden, who's a legend here, put Myron in my hand right here. See Myron? Go click on his things, go to his YouTube channel, and then give him all of your money immediately. Myron Golden, he's a buddy of mine. He talks about this idea called contributing factors versus determining factors. The Bible says that it rains on the just and the unjust alike. And what that means is it means bad things happen to good people. They do, right? But it's not an excuse for your failure or playing small. It's just not. It is an excuse, but it's not a valid excuse, right? And so if you are driving to an appointment to make a sale and you get in a car accident through no fault of your own and you lose the sale, that doesn't determine your overall success in life, but it does determine that one sale. You might lose it. That's called a contributing factor. It's raining on the just. It's a bad thing that happened. Guess what? Literally happens to all of us. Guess what? Playing small doesn't mean it's not going to rain. It's raining anyway. That's just like how it works. But making excuses is a way to justify your own fear is a bad idea, assuming you want great success. I know not everyone does, okay? You don't compare yourself to me. Don't compare yourself to anybody. Compare yourself to the purpose that God has for you. That's the only person you should measure against. And listen, if you're getting value out of these videos, I want to encourage you, click the subscribe thing, right? We have more than a dozen followers now, and we want to get to the next level. I'm going to try to be consistent imperfectly. I hope you do the same thing. Share this with a friend. Comment. I'd love to hear your story. Until next time, see you in the next video. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you watched, click the video on the left to watch the previous upload. And if you want one of my personal favorites, click the video on the right. And of course, don't forget to hit the middle to subscribe so you never miss an upload. Thank you again for being on this journey with me.